The East End of London in the 1960s was like a city within a city, and a community that was fighting to pull itself out of hardships following the end of the war. There was a special kind of bond among those that call themselves EastEnders, none more so than Ronnie and Reggie Kray, twin brothers that would build an empire of crime which would ultimately be their downfall. This video, however, is not particularly about the twin brothers, but to have a look through the watches that they wore. After all, this is a watch review channel. There are hundreds of videos on here if you want to know more about them, and some movies as well. But back to the watches, a selection of vintage watches from the 1960s.
Hi there folks, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to a little bit of a departure for me today from the norm, which is obviously watch reviews and unboxings and stuff like that. Today we are definitely into some vintage territory, hence all the vintage stuff that we have here. This is about the watches that the Kray twins wore, and it has taken quite a bit of research, and some of it is a bit murky, so if there's any kind of vintage buffs out there that kind of can correct me on anything, feel free to let me know in the comments. But yeah, I got curious as to what kind of watches they wore, and funny enough found out that Ron Kray was a collector. He loved his watches. Reg, not so much, but we have, and I've managed to even get hold of a couple, which we will get to shortly. But I'll be putting some pictures up on the screen so that we can you can have a look at them, and a little bit of information, the little bit that I've been able to find. Now, the Krays, you know, for whatever they were, as you know, as gangsters, they always presented themselves well. They were always suited and booted, and they had all the accessories that go along with it. You know, Reg always had his cigarette case and always carried some money in there. I've even got some 1960s UK money. Look at that, a £1 note. How long is it since we've seen one of those? And a 10 shilling note. This one is a crown, and this one is a half a crown. And a threepenny bit. So yeah, also is a lighter, which is very similar to the one that Reggie Kray had. This is a roller gas, Dunhill roller gas lighter. So yes, there we go. Lots of different things. Now, Ron. Now he had a watch which was given to him by his parents for his birthday in 1961, which was made by a company called J.W. Benson, and a picture will appear up here somewhere, which was 21 jewels, an automatic, and I have done a little bit of research on those, and J.W. Benson, their watches are actually really very, very good, and today they still fetch, vintage money wise, some kind of really good money. So yeah, that was interesting, and they're not particularly difficult to get hold of, but they can be quite expensive, but still nice pieces. Right, now then, in the movie Legend, with Tom Hardy, who played both Ronnie and Reggie, he was wearing, for playing Ron, I'm not sure, it was difficult to find out what he was wearing for Ronnie, but he, around about that time, would have predominantly worn what I believe would be a Waltham, which was a hand wound 21 jewel Swiss made with small seconds, which would have been gold plated with a bracelet on it. And that again, there will be a picture will have appeared up here, and from what I can see from the movie, that's kind of the watch that Tom Hardy was wearing as he was playing Ronnie. And now he also he liked his square watches as well. He had a Regency, which we have this here, and this is actually, according to the stuff that I've found on the internet, this is the one. And if you want to move in a bit closer, and we will have a little bit of a look at that. It's 17 jewel, and in the corner I will put a picture up of the movement, and it is all gold plated with this integrated bracelet, which is actually, for the time, is engineered really quite nicely. And we have the sliding bar, if you like, for the bracelet to go into. So you slot that in there and then you close that down. So yeah, just quite a nice thing. In today's kind of standards, it's very small. It's 27 mil, but back in the day, small watches were the thing, and this one is actually running quite well, and it's keeping reasonable time. I believe it was running around about plus 40 seconds a day, which I didn't think was bad for a watch from the 1960s. So yeah, there's that is that one. Staying with Ronnie, he also had a Record Deluxe, which was another 17 jewel hand wound gold plated, which was another square watch, and he also had, which was bought for him by his brother Reggie when he was in hospital. Ronnie had he was schizophrenic, and he quite often had to spend time in hospital, and Reggie bought him a Longines, which I believe was hand wound, and it was gold plated, integrated bracelet. It looks it's a very much a dress watch. Again, I will put pictures up on the screen so that you can see it. Now, after it all went bad for them, Ronnie, predominantly while he was he was actually sentenced to 30 years, and he spent most of it in a place called Broadmoor, which is a secure hospital, and he wore a burgundy dial rotary, which was a hand wound from what I can find out. Again, gold plated. I don't think it was actually gold. And even when he was in hospital in Broadmoor, he always wore a suit, and he was always very well presented, and kind of looked after his appearance. Now, as far as Reggie goes, the earliest watch that I've been able to find for him, which I will leave a picture up, and it's actually a picture of it in the prison bag, or whatever it is when they sign you into prison, which was just a Seconda, chrome plated on a Fix-A-Flex strap, which I'm assuming is a kind of a 17 jewel thing. Yeah, nothing particularly special, easy enough to get hold of, but for some reason they tend to be quite expensive as far as vintage watches go. Then we move on to his talisman. Now, in the movie Legend with Tom Hardy, as I said, when Tom Hardy was playing Reggie, he was actually wearing a Seiko 5. The reference is 6119 8203, and it's basically the same as this, which is a Datejust style, but the one that Tom Hardy wore was all stainless steel, but this is actually the one. Again, I will leave a picture of it in its prison bag. So this is actually the one, and there's actually a quartz version of this as well that came out obviously a lot later, because the Krays were around in the 60s, not the 70s and 80s. Well, they were around, they were just in prison. But yes, this is a hand wind. It's 17 jewel, and it's as from what I can understand, it's a Japanese movement, and it doesn't have a quick set date or anything like that. This particular one is in very good condition, but it does run fast. It does run really quite fast. But yeah, there we go. That is the watch of Reggie Kray, and the other one that he had was an Omega, which again, there are rumours that Tom Hardy wore it during the filming of Legend, but having watched the movie several times, you can actually see the Seiko 5, and it's definitely a Seiko 5 because there's a close-up of it when he takes it off to go in to hand himself into the police in the middle of the film, when he has to complete a sentence which he'd been appealing against, and it is definitely a Seiko 5, and it looks like this, just no gold on it. So yeah, now, which was 18 karat gold, which is probably the one he's kind of most renowned for. Again, there'll be pictures up here, with a diamond set bezel. It was a 9 jewel movement, and the reference number for that is /177611, and it was 72 grams of gold with an integral bracelet. Very, very nice piece, and I believe that sold relatively recently at auction. It was expected to make around about 9,000, and I believe it sold for nearer 5.5. But you know, difficult to kind of substantiate these. It's there's a lot of information, but a lot of it is kind of a bit conflicting with something else that you've read. Now, this watch at the back here, this is not one of theirs, but this is actually quite reminiscent. This is a rotary. It was actually my grandfather's watch, and it's very, very similar to the Waltham that Ronnie wore. It was, so yeah, very minimalistic, obviously a no date, but yeah, so yes, it's just been a very, very interesting journey, and if any of you guys have got any other information, I'll be absolutely fascinated to see it. Drop me a comment and let me know what you know. And there's also lots of stories. Everybody's got a story about the Krays, you know, my grandfather this, my grandfather that, my nan, and all the rest of it. A lot of them you do have to take with a pinch of salt, because there's this kind of very mythological kind of Robin Hood types of thing that's kind of built up around these guys. But yes, there we go. Some vintage pieces from the 1960s, and some vintage money too, all sorts of things. But yeah, if you like this kind of content, please leave this video a thumbs up. If you want to see anything else like this, kind of, you know, vintage watches, or watches from the past, or watches that have been used in either movies or ones that kind of renowned people have worn, just let me know. But yes, something a little bit different for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. And please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe and all the other good stuff. But that is it for now. And I'll catch you all in the next video. Cheers for now.